There are periods in a life that don't make sense from the outside. Everything looks functional. The circumstances haven't dramatically collapsed. The relationships are intact. There is no obvious crisis to point to, no clean explanation for why the person who was recently capable and engaged is now exhausted in a way that sleep doesn't fix. Emotionally raw in ways that don't correspond to events, oscillating between periods of inexplicable clarity and periods of a heaviness that has no apparent source. From the outside, it looks like burnout, or depression, or a phase to push through. From the inside, it feels like something is happening that none of those frameworks quite capture. Because something is happening, something that has a name in every tradition that has mapped the territory of genuine human development, and almost no name in the modern secular frameworks that most people have available to them. An energy upgrade cycle, the process by which the human system, the body, the nervous system, the entire integrated architecture of a person, moves from one level of functional organization to a higher one, not metaphorically, structurally, a genuine reorganization of the system at a level more fundamental than behavior or belief, producing symptoms that are not pathological but are real, not comfortable but are intelligent, not a sign of breakdown, but the most reliable sign available that something is building. Understanding this changes everything about how you navigate it. Part 1. What an upgrade cycle actually is. Every living system that grows does so in a recognizable pattern, not linearly, not through the steady, continuous accumulation of incremental gains that the self-improvement model implies, but in cycles of consolidation and disruption. Periods of stable functioning followed by periods of destabilization that precede a reorganization at a higher level of complexity and capacity. This pattern appears everywhere in biology. The caterpillar does not gradually and comfortably become a butterfly. It dissolves entirely, radically at the cellular level, and reorganizes from that dissolution into a form with completely different capacities. The seed does not incrementally become a tree. It ruptures its own casing under pressure. And what looked from outside like destruction is the mechanism of growth. The human system follows the same logic. Periods of genuine development are not periods of smooth progress. They are periods in which the existing organization, the neural patterns, the nervous system's baseline, the habitual emotional and cognitive responses that constitute the current level of functioning, becomes insufficient for what is trying to emerge and begins to break down. The breakdown is not failure, it is phase transition, the system moving from one stable configuration to a higher one. And the movement necessarily passes through a period of instability that is neither the old configuration nor the new one. This is the upgrade cycle, and it is recognizable once you know what to look for in the texture of its symptoms. Part 2. How to recognize it. The upgrade cycle has a specific signature, a cluster of experiences that appear together with enough consistency to constitute a pattern. The first is fatigue that doesn't respond to rest, not the fatigue of overwork or poor sleep, which resolves with adequate recovery. The fatigue of reorganization, which persists through rest because it is not coming from depletion, but from the energy cost of active structural change happening below the level of conscious awareness. The system is doing something demanding. It simply isn't doing it where ordinary attention can see it. The second is emotional volatility without clear trigger. Feelings arise that don't correspond to current circumstances. Grief that arrives without obvious loss. Anger that surfaces in situations that don't warrant it. A tenderness or an aliveness that feels almost too intense for the ordinary moment it appears in. This is the emotional residue of the previous level of organization moving through the system as the reorganization proceeds. Material that was held in place by the old configuration releases as the configuration changes. The third is disrupted sleep architecture, vivid, unusually intense dreams. Waking in the early morning hours, typically between 3 and 5, in a state of unusual alertness that feels more like emergence than disturbance. Changes in the body's relationship to sleep that don't correspond to external changes in circumstances or schedule. The sleep system reorganizes during upgrade cycles because deep sleep is where the most significant structural processing occurs. The fourth is a sense of the old life no longer fitting. Not dramatic dissatisfaction, not the desire to burn everything down. A subtler, more unsettling sense that the identity, the roles, the frameworks, and the relationships that previously felt like home have quietly become slightly too small. Not wrong exactly, just no longer quite corresponding to something that is in the process of outgrowing them. Part 3, what the cycle is doing. Understanding what is actually happening during an upgrade cycle, mechanically, structurally, changes the entire experience of it. At the neurological level, the cycle involves the dismantling of existing neural architecture and the construction of new pathways with different functional properties. The brain does this through a process called synaptic pruning, the elimination of established connections that are no longer optimal, combined with the formation of new connections organized around a different, more complex functional pattern. This is metabolically expensive. It requires energy that would otherwise be available for ordinary functioning. And it produces, during the active phase, a quality of cognitive and physical heaviness that is entirely appropriate. The brain is under construction in the most literal possible sense. At the nervous system level, the cycle involves the recalibration of the autonomic baseline, the default level of activation or rest around which all other physiological states are organized. Moving from a higher baseline of chronic sympathetic activation to a lower, more coherent baseline is not a smooth transition. The system oscillates, dropping toward the new baseline, returning toward the old one, gradually establishing the new configuration through repeated exposure. And the oscillation produces the emotional volatility and energetic irregularity that characterize the cycle. And at the level of identity and meaning, which is the level most people experience most consciously, the cycle involves the dissolution of existing frameworks of self-understanding that have been organized around the previous level of development, before new frameworks adequate to the emerging level have been constructed. This is the most disorienting phase. The old story about who you are and what your life is for no longer quite holds. The new story has not yet arrived to replace it. The person is in the gap, no longer fully operating from the old organization, not yet stable in the new one. And the gap is genuinely uncomfortable in a way that cannot be resolved by simply deciding to feel better. Part 4 and how to navigate it. The most important navigational shift available during an upgrade cycle is the one most difficult to make. From resistance to cooperation, the cycle does not respond to being pushed through. The strategies that work for ordinary fatigue, more effort, stronger discipline, tighter schedule, make the upgrade cycle worse. They consume energy the system needs for the reorganization, create additional stress on a system already under significant internal demand, and extend the cycle's duration by fighting a process that requires, above all, adequate conditions to complete itself. The primary condition the upgrade cycle requires is the one modern life is least structured to provide: genuine rest. Not the performance of rest, not scrolling instead of sleeping, not the passive consumption of media as a substitute for actual recovery. The quality of stillness in which the nervous system can actually drop into the parasympathetic depth, where structural reorganization occurs most efficiently. This is not laziness. It is the most productive thing available during the active phase of an upgrade cycle, because the most significant work being done is happening at levels that conscious effort cannot reach and can only impede. The second navigational practice is the reduction of unnecessary energy expenditure. The upgrade cycle requires the system to redirect significant resources toward the reorganization. Every demand that can be reduced without genuine consequence during this period frees resources for the process that actually matters. This means saying no to more than usual. It means accepting a temporarily reduced output without interpreting that reduction as personal failure. The third practice is trust, which is perhaps the most demanding thing the cycle asks for. Trust that the disorientation is not permanent, that the fatigue is purposeful, that the identity that is currently dissolving is dissolving precisely because something more adequate to what you are becoming is in the process of emerging. That the gap between the old organization and the new one is not empty. It is the active site of the most significant development available. And the fourth practice is attention to what is emerging alongside the dissolution. Even in the most demanding phases of an upgrade cycle, there are signals of what is being built. New capacities that appear in glimpses, new qualities of perception or response that were not available before. A quality of depth or clarity that surfaces briefly and then recedes but leaves behind the evidence of its existence. These signals are worth tracking. They are the first transmissions from the new level, arriving before it has fully consolidated, pointing toward what the cycle is building toward, providing the orienting information that makes the remainder of the transition navigable. The upgrade cycle you are in, or have been in, or will enter, is not happening to you. It is happening for you. In the most structural, most literal, most physically real sense of that phrase, the system that contains you is reorganizing itself at a level you did not consciously choose and cannot consciously direct, because the reorganization is more fundamental than conscious direction can reach. What you can do is stop fighting it. Stop interpreting the fatigue as failure. Stop reading the emotional volatility as evidence that something is wrong. Stop trying to push through to the other side with the strategies that work when the challenge is external, when the cycle is internal, and requires something closer to surrender than effort. The other side is real. What emerges from a completed upgrade cycle, the clarity, the expanded capacity, the quality of groundedness in a self that is more adequate to what you actually are, is worth every difficult day of the transition. But it emerges on its own schedule, in its own form, shaped by the intelligence of the process rather than the agenda of the self that is in the process of being reorganized. You cannot rush the metamorphosis. You can only provide the conditions. And trust that what is being built in the dissolution is already more than anything the dissolving structure could have contained. If this named what you or someone you care about has been moving through without a framework for it, share it. The upgrade cycle is the most consistently misdiagnosed experience in human development. Calling it breakdown when it is breakthrough changes everything about how it gets navigated. See you in the next one.